In today's Plate of History Beans, I'll take a quick look at blacksmithing and how it played a role in the development of the Old West. Most everyone understands that before automobiles and the widespread use of internal combustion engines, when it came to hauling or plowing or any number of chores, wagons, horses, and plows were the best implements around to get the job done. One common denominator in all three is metal. And when it came to maintenance, one didn't turn to the local mechanic, but rather to the local blacksmith. Smithing, founding, and shaping metal goes back over 3,000 years to around 1500 BC. It wasn't an exact science at first, and for centuries, skilled smiths were often regarded not only as craftsmen, but as sorcerers of a sort who could smelt metal from rock and then imbue the metal with magical properties. When creating swords or plows starting with iron ore, it's possible to end up with metal too soft to hold an edge or too brittle to remain intact. On the other end of that spectrum, however, were smiths who unlocked the secrets of creating low-grade steel. It's unclear when smiths first realized that the combination of carbon from charcoal and iron ore could render metal that was not only hard enough to keep a razor-sharp edge, but flexible enough to bend rather than break. But those early swords were often regarded as magical, like, for example, the sword Excalibur, given to King Arthur by the Lady in the Lake in the tales of the Knights of the Round Table. By the time of the Old West in the Americas, the smelting of iron was no longer seen as something magical. Likewise, smiths were no longer forced to create iron from iron ore. Rather, they could order bars and rods made of metal for their work. They would also often repurpose iron and steel taken from old wagon wheels, bands from barrels, or other sources available at the time. Iron bars and rods rolled out of factories in great numbers, as did circular bands for wagon wheels and just about any uniformly shaped metal that was in widespread use at the time. That did not, however, mean that smithing was obsolete as a profession. A great number of wagons, buggies, and the need for farrier work, shoeing horses and other draft animals, meant that the local town smithy became more important than ever. If, for example, your wagon lost a wheel, one could purchase a new wagon wheel, but most of the time, why do so when the smithy could fix the old one? Likewise, even though blacksmiths were no longer tasked with smelting metal from ore, they still had to shape metal into horseshoes. So even though the focus had changed for smiths, their work was more in demand than at any other time in history. Most smiths in the 18th and 19th centuries learned their trade in an artisanal way as an apprentice, or perhaps more often as a part of the family business. It's not a coincidence that one of the most common surnames even now is Smith. If your father and grandfather worked as a smith, then chances are you would be a smith as well. And in truth, since the job was so important, it was a lucrative business, one you could count on to support you and your family throughout your life. Old West smiths had a specific set of tools, one most folks are familiar with: a foundry for heating metal, hammers and chisels for punching and pounding steel or iron, and, of course, the iconic anvil, most commonly shaped in what is now called the London pattern or London design, with a flat surface for pounding metal, holes at one end for punching through shoes or rivets, and the horn at the other end for bending and shaping the metal. As for its place in the Old West, there are dozens of examples in movies, TV shows, and books that call to mind the image of the town blacksmith, muscular and clear-eyed, pounding away at the steel and, of Of course, when it came time to form a posse, or perhaps a mob, for lynching, there in the crowd, along with the mercantile owner and other assorted farmers sporting pitchforks and such, was the smith, the biggest guy there, perhaps wielding a sledgehammer. And what Old West brawl would be complete without a couple of shots of the town smith swinging his formidable hammer, cutting a swath through the crowd, only to fall to the hands of a bad guy or native warrior. In today's chapter of Hunting Charm, the story returns to Matt Grayson and Hunter Brantley and their quest to determine what happened to Doreen Tarwater. In their search, in previous chapters, we learned that the Comanche had seen a black man with children traveling west with a herd of mules in the direction of Fort Union in northern New Mexico. When Matt and Brant reach Fort Union, they talk first with the fort's commander, who sends them on to the foundry where they meet the fort blacksmith, a colored man everyone calls Cottonmouth because of his tremendous white beard. That's it for today's plate of history beans on blacksmithing in the Old West. I'll put a couple of links in the comments below if you want to know more about blacksmiths, and if you're following along with my book Hunting Charm, I'd invite you to visit my author's page on Amazon, also with a link below. If you like the story, drop me a quick 5-star review there. As always, I ask that you hit the like and subscribe buttons. Any support is much appreciated. Now here's the first half of Chapter 20 of Hunting Charm, Cottonmouth and the Pathfinder's Dream. Chapter 20, Cottonmouth and the Pathfinder's Dream. You have a crowd outside the gate. Matt seated himself opposite Major A.J. Alexander, referring to the community of Plains Indians, mostly women and children, camped alongside the sod outworks of Fort Union. They remain in their place or else, Alexander said. It is our policy to summarily try and hang the younger men if they act up. Grab that chair over yonder. Alexander motioned Brant to pull a second chair from its resting spot against the southern wall. Well, I reckon you men are the experts. Matt raised an eyebrow. You may disapprove of my policy if you like. There are senators in Washington who quibble about it. Not my problem. Relations with these tribal folk are difficult. Our commission, however, is simple. We are here to keep the Santa Fe Trail safe for travelers. If you must know, we've hung only one man in the past 2 years. I won't speak of his actions, but they were heinous. Now, what is your business? I like a man who gets right to it, Matt said. We're looking for a colored man driving a herd of mules. He may have an older black gentleman with him and possibly 2 or 3 children. Ain't seen him. We feel fairly certain he came through this way. If I say I ain't seen him, I ain't seen him. Yes, I understand, Matt said. Thing is that the man we're seeking may have killed a white woman. Cecil Johnson is his name. He was stationed here about 5 years ago. Don't recall the name. We thought he might have come this way, perhaps looking for an old friend, one of your colored troops, perhaps? The woman is the daughter of a wealthy man in Kansas. I understand the father has some political connections, so it is a serious matter. Alexander pursed his lips, then waved his hand for Matt to continue. It's a curious story, Matt went on. Seems this white woman, Doreen Tarwater, ran off or was forcibly kidnapped one morning in Abilene, Kansas. Personally, I believe she ran off. At any rate, we have evidence suggesting Miss Tarwater was at the Johnson homestead in Indian Territory for a few days near the end of April. We haven't been that way yet, but we have reliable word that Johnson was seen near your fort recently. It's important that we talk with him.
As I say, I ain't seen the man. However, we do have a few colored soldiers stationed here, mostly berthed over in the North Barracks. You might speak with our smithy, Cottonmouth. He was here 5 years ago. He can be found in the shed alongside the foundry. Gentlemen, I simply cannot help you with this matter.
Yes, sir, I understand, but
Lieutenant Mathers, would you see these men out?
Alexander stood, signaling an end to the interview. Matt nodded amicably and stood. A bookish young officer appeared in the doorway. Thank you, Major. I know the young woman's father will be thankful when he hears of your cooperation.
I don't give a damn if he's thankful or not.
Alexander motioned them towards the door.
Good day.
The lieutenant led them outside, and once there pointed towards the foundry.
Smithy is most likely out for lunch. He starts early and generally has a siesta before resuming his 4 or 5. Difficult man. Some might say downright unpleasant. He ain't gonna appreciate you bothering him. I recommend you settle in for a while and wait for him to come out.
Matt nodded and thanked the lieutenant. A half-minute later, they stood outside a solid wood-frame structure next to the foundry, the smells of sulfur and heated iron assailing their nostrils. The blacksmith was nowhere to be seen. Matt considered the lieutenant's warning, then gave the blacksmith's door a rap. There was no response.
Maybe he's not in.
Brant felt uncertain about the situation. Blacksmiths were often men of exacting standards, proud of their trade and powerfully built because of the nature of their work. I'll just give it one more try. Matt knocked louder.
Who the hell is it?
The door swung open and a towering man with a bull's chest, jet black skin, a shaved head, and an enormous white cloud of a beard appeared.
Don't you know it's lunchtime?
The man scowled with such intensity both Matt and Brant took a step backwards. Howdy, Matt stuttered. The blacksmith dwarfed even Brant.
What the hell do you want? Can't a man get no peace around here? If you need some horses shod or livered, I'll be back in the foundry around 1600 hours.
No, sir, we came to talk. Just a couple of questions.
Sir? You calling me sir? Well, I'll be damned if it ain't a polite white man. God damn, I might just about shit my britches on that one. Ain't none of y'all white sons of bitches call me sir, and are you touched in the head, boy?
Cottonmouth's scowl deepened. Brant wondered if they might be better off leaving, but Matt, always up for a challenge, raised an eyebrow and grinned. I reckon I'm a bit touched, but I need to ask you a few questions. If I can pull you away from your lunch for a few minutes?
Oh, master, you don't have to be bright old Cottonmouth. Let me step over here and fetch my things. I'll be right along at 1600 hours.
Despite his denial, Matt could see a wrinkle of amusement around the smithy's eyes. We don't want to inconvenience you. I promise this won't take more than a moment.
Ain't no way a fine white fella like you could, what was that word? Inconvenience me? Danged if you white fellas don't use big words.
This is Hunter Brantley, and I'm Matt Grayson. This will only take a second. Cottonmouth clicked his tongue, then took a step back.
Fine. I was about to sit down for cookies and tea. Reckon you boys might just as well come on in and join me.
Brent looked at Matt and Matt at Brent. Tea and cookies? Matt asked.
That's right. Come on in.
Cottonmouth waved them inside. Matt looked at Brent a second time, then shrugged, and both men entered the blacksmith's shack. Judging from the building's exterior, Brent expected the interior to be Spartan, but was surprised to find the place well furnished with a bed, small cook stove, several shelves stocked with a variety of canned goods, linens, books, glassware, a camera, a carved chess set, a miniature train, and even a microscope. Cottonmouth directed them to sit around a small table and a moment later placed a teacup in front of each of them. From a tin he spooned tea and a moment later poured water from a steaming kettle into each cup. Finally, Cottonmouth placed a small tin of cookies in the middle of the table. Matt and Brent looked at the setting in stunned silence.
What's the matter? You dumb crackers ain't never seen a cracker before?
Cottonmouth grinned mischievously. The men sat silently at first, baffled by the formal setting. Matt recovered quickly, however. Major Alexander said you might have known Cecil Johnson.
I knew him, Cottonmouth said. What did Mr. Starchy Britches say?
Well,
The man thinks he knows every goddamn thing. You should have seen the time I told him to shoe his own damn horse.
Cottonmouth chuckled.
He came up to me shouting about how his mount went lame and wasn't shod proper. He rode his patrol 2 days straight chasing after a bunch of Kiowa they ain't caught yet. I told him if it weren't for my shoes he would have been walking and the horse would have been dead, which is true. Alexander ain't exactly what you would call petite.
What did he do? Brent asked.
He didn't do a damn thing. The man knew I was right. Thought the pompous bastard was gonna strip me down and whip me, but he just got all red in the face and stomped off. Major Alexander may be a little too starchy, but he ain't no fool.
He certainly got right to business when we were in his office, Matt said. So, about Cecil Johnson,
I know why you're here. You think I invite every scraggly cowpuncher in here for cookies and tea? I was expecting you. Cecil has been here. He told me there might be men coming through asking after him. Told me the whole story. I reckon you fellers plan on taking Cecil back to face up to the father of that trashy white woman stowed off in his wagon. Well, I tell you right now, Cecil ain't the kind to harm a white woman nor anyone. Far as Cecil knows, she's still alive, though that may have changed by now. From what Cecil says, she was a fool.
Matt looked at the grizzled blacksmith, examining him for any signs of a lie. Despite Matt's unassuming charm, he could read a man more accurately than most. When Matt nodded, Brent understood that his partner believed Cottonmouth's story. Unfortunately, the smithy's words only complicated matters. We were hired to find Johnson. Matt eyed the enormous blacksmith cautiously.
I know that, but I don't aim to tell you which direction he went. Johnson saved the lives of 12 men a few years back. Ain't a soldier, black or white, in these parts will say a word against him. 8 of the men Cecil saved were white.
What if I said I believe you? What if I said I I would do my dead level best to make certain the whole business gets cleared up and Cecil Johnson gets his name cleared fair and square.
Ain't no fair and square where a black man comes up against a white woman. Ain't nothing but a good man dangling from a rope. By the way, just so you understand the situation, I got word you were coming from Major Alexander himself. Our scouts spotted y'all riding in early this morning. There are orders not to speak with you on this matter. I'm merely paying you a courtesy because you look like decent men, but you best leave this be.
The last sentence stopped Matt. There was no threat in Cottonmouth's words, but the fact that Major Alexander had known about Johnson and had feigned ignorance said volumes about the situation. Alexander pulled the wool over our eyes? It was more a statement than a question.
You ain't heard it from me.
Cottonmouth sighed, then said,
I will say this much, just so you know. Cecil Johnson came through here without his wife, and only 2 of his 3 children. You understand me? The man lost his wife and baby child to this deal. The ones done it won't never pay, neither.
Matt regarded Cottonmouth for a long moment. So you say Johnson's wife wasn't with him?
Nor his infant child.
Matt nodded, took a deep breath, and turned to Brent. We should hit the trail. Is there anything else you can tell us?
There are things a man must do, things that can't be left undone. I served with Johnson, and he ain't the kind to leave things undone. You got no right to find these folks you're following, none of them, not a one.
Cottonmouth looked menacingly at Matt and Brent.
Leave this thing be.
Cottonmouth stood, dismissing them, just as Major Alexander had earlier. As they left Cottonmouth's quarters, it now felt like they were being scrutinized from all directions. The glances and stares that had seemed mere curiosity earlier had taken on a vaguely threatening tone. Johnson has friends here. Brent tightened the cinch on his saddle. You reckon the smithy's right about him being innocent of this business? He's right, Matt replied. Unfortunately, that doesn't change our situation. If we take him in, Johnson will hang. I didn't think you were the kind to send an innocent man to the gallows. I'm not, Hunter. That's the problem. But we're not the only ones looking.